interesting one I remember Bill Gates back in the 80s talking about was the smart toilet. So it could, you wake up in the morning and you can analyze how sick you are.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think
Yeah.
we should definitely be thinking of getting to that point.
Yeah.
That even if it's not your individual toilet, can we build all this smartness into our sewer system, into our water and sewage system that
Sure.
we constantly have 100% visibility of what the quality of the of the water that comes into the house, and also what goes out of the house, that what risk factors are developing, what contaminants are developing, and IoT really enables scaling out of large scale, infrastructure.
Hi, everybody. I want to welcome you to the Nairobi Gold Rush Podcast. My name's Scott. I'm your host. And on Nairobi Gold Rush, we're interviewing the top tech leaders and entrepreneurs here in Nairobi. So we've got a very special guest with us here today. We have Felix here, Felix Omwansa.
Yes, Omwansa.
And Felix is a tech leader here in Nairobi, an entrepreneur, and welcome to the show, Felix. Great
Sure.
to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Really quite nice to be here. It's one of the many few that have been featured in. So yeah, pretty
Great.
cool. Yeah.
And let's just start out.
Yeah.
Maybe you could tell us what your company is and what you're doing.
So yeah, hi everyone. My name is Felix Omwansa. I'm the CTO and co-founder of a company called Jeviton. Essentially, we design and manufacture electronic products, and this cover a whole broad range of industries. I mean, from mobility, logistics, manufacturing. Our customers are mostly businesses that are kind of taking up new tech, want to adopt the latest tech that can help them, run their operations better, provide better services, provide better products, enhance experiences for their own users and so on. So we really just help them take this from the ideas into manufacturing scale.
Sure. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about this. Are you actually building the products here through a factory, or are you just helping with design? How does the whole process work? Maybe you could walk us through that.
I'd say definitely both, because as much as we pride ourselves as one of the leading original design manufacturers in the country, yes, our key strength is in the design, that conceptualization of these products. We do also have quite a lot of involvement in the actual production. How we do it, it's a decentralized kind of way, in the sense that we do have our own space where we do the 3D design, do the the electronics design, do the code design, for the software and the firmware design. We work with a very closely knitted ecosystem of partners that help us, from the whole production process. So I could run through, how it typically goes. So I guess most people are familiar with electronic products as having a motherboard, quote unquote, that green piece that has all these tiny bits and pieces on top of it. So we call that the printed circuit board. That's really where the design and the product rests on. We also designed, the body that houses the electronics. You can think of what this microphone has. That goes the 3D design. So once you got the designs in place, we would get those done in China or in Europe or in South Africa, in the sense that for the production of the printed circuit boards, we don't really have that capacity in the country yet. Yes, so we get those in, ship them in, and then figure out the assembly from there, and then up to the point where we're packaging and shipping them to our customers. We definitely do a lot of that work on the production here in the country, because most of our customers are in the country, as much as we do have customers in South Africa and in the United States. We do all the thinking, the design, and the production from here. So we add, think of it as a chain of processes and different players coming in, to contribute different aspects of making the product happen. We're at the highest value addition point, where yes, we create the designs and handle the production, assembly, and shipping. That final stage where we deliver it to our customers.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's interesting is I usually think of these manufactured goods usually coming from China, someplace like that. So you guys so you make everything mostly here, I guess, and I'm assuming there's maybe some parts and things you have to get from China. Is that how it works, sir?
Definitely. Truth be told, China has a lot figured out in terms of, like the raw, call it the raw components, and right balance between the speed and production scale works for us. Of course, in the grand scale of things, that works pretty well. So yes, we do have a lot of reliance on getting these raw components from China. Primarily China, because of course we get them from so many countries in the Far East, Europe and America as well. Because when you think of an electronic product, it's definitely made up of different parts, has sensors, has control chips, has power components, has all these cablings and so on. So it's a whole mix of different suppliers that we have to work with. So we kind of have to stay abreast on who's the best at what and what they're providing and what's available at what cost.
Sure. Well, maybe tell us about, maybe pick 2 products and tell us that you've created, like, that our users might be interested to know about.
Cool. Let me see. So one of our main partners and customers are an electric mobility company, and they, of course, have the capacity to produce their bikes. We help them figure out the electronics that runs on the bikes. So one of the key things we built for them is the battery management system.
Yeah.
So that electric bike has, of course, a big battery. I'm sure you've seen them. Yeah, yes, it has a big battery, or might have 2 batteries. But in between the battery, the cells, and the rest of the bike sits a critical component that helps with the conversion of the energy. So that's what we call the battery management system. Yeah. So the conversion goes both ways. When it's on the bike, it discharges the energy from the battery to the bike for the bike to use, and when it's back to the swap station, it's the same component that's used now to charge up the battery. Sure. So we help them, figure that out in terms of sizing it up to what the motor requirements, the bike requirements are, because it's a pretty powerful bike. I think they only need to swap it once a day, not unlike the common ones that have to swap it like 3-4 times a day.
Sure. Maybe you could explain this process to us about the battery swapping. I know some of our listeners in the U.S. may not be familiar with how the battery swapping station works on electric bikes.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure. So of course, having used vehicles and more, regular petrol and diesel bikes, you're familiar that you do need to go to a petrol station to get gas, to get fuel whenever your fuel runs low. So most of these electric mobility companies have to build out the infrastructure to help their riders, get access to new battery packs, because of course, charging the battery packs takes a bit of time. Yeah, it's not as immediate as you can go to a petrol station and get the immediate refueling. You need to have the battery pack sit on the charging station for quite a bit of time.
So you're running your motorbike taxi, which is the business I'm in with the Safe Moto. We have the electric bikes that travel around the city, and so you have customers waiting. You can't sit for 3 hours to charge your battery. You need to pop a new one on really quickly.
You just need to pop a new one on as fast as possible. So that's what the swap stations do. They provide that quick drop in, drop out, pick up of the battery. So you almost have a seamless experience as a rider, that you never have to worry, that you won't have fuel, you won't have enough battery to reach you to travel or ride or deliver packages, whatever it is you're doing. So that's what the swap stations do. They provide that critical infrastructure to help these riders always keep buzzing around.
Sure.
Yeah, they never have to stop.
And then so your company comes in and provides some of the electronic components that help kind of manage interact with the charging of the batteries and everything.
Exactly. So the whole ecosystem has to be pretty well integrated. From the battery management system that runs with the battery packs, you need to figure out what the swap station needs to look like, how many batteries can be there, what kind of chargers these batteries need, what kind of energy supply you need. You need single phase power, 3-phase power. Can you run it on solar? So there are all these considerations to make before to have these swap stations running properly. And you need almost always, you can't get stuff off the shelf, at least that works to this context, this African and Kenyan context. Yeah. That's really where we fit in to provide that, minimize that risk and challenges for these guys to adopt.
Sure. One of the things I've always been curious about is with my company, SafeBoda, we track all the bikes as they move around the city. So we have all the GPS data of every bike rider that works with us, electric bikes, gas bikes, but particularly with electric bikes, I've always been curious if there's some possibilities. We will talk a little bit about this thing called IoT, where maybe there could be a partnership between the battery manufacturers and the data that SafeBoda has to learn details about how the bike is using the battery as it moves around. Drivers going up a hilly area maybe, or because I think that's one thing that people want to know is how long is the battery going to last? Is it going to last for 2 hours, 3 hours? So the driver can efficiently know when to swap out. So there's a lot of partnership, I think, between all these
Actually,
data
yeah,
sources.
actually, yeah, because it's say like the standard technology, modern technology experience with this electric bikes and electric mobility solutions that there is a lot of cross pollination and very deep integrations with all these players. The Internet of Things, yeah, as you mentioned, enables that. It's really just the whole realm of connected products that enable all this to happen.
Is that how you kind of describe IoT, Internet of Things? It's just connecting an average device that's out there.
Yeah. So quite simply put, it's providing connectivity to applications that have never had any sort of connectivity.
So it's not like a phone or something like that, maybe, but it's more like a bike or a sensor or something.
Yes. The separation comes, or the distinction comes in from that realization that how we use the internet as humans versus how everything else connected to the internet uses it is very different. You need your phone to access Twitter, X, for lack of a better, Google, YouTube. It's a whole different experience compared to these sensors and objects that you can't connect. You can still connect to them. Think of a simple example is a water meter.
Yeah.
Normally these mechanical old school legacy water meters, you do have to manually keep recording, and
you have to go check the water levels and write it down.
Exactly. So what the Internet of Things does for such objects, let me call it an object, is that it takes away that hassle of you needing to be there physically to collect the data.
And this is pretty awesome technology because, for example, that I had is I have Kenya Power at my house, right? And let's say the average power bill is about 10,000 shillings. Well, one month I leave for the US and I come back and it has one of those manual rotating dial meters. So I come back from vacation after a month in the US and the bill is 100,000. Yeah, 100,000. And you can't fight it. You can't do anything. I was starting to argue about it. And then the people from Kenya Power, they come to the house, they lock the power. We need 100,000 shillings immediately. So how I address that is I now got one of these digital meters. I guess they call it like a smart meter or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's an IoT device that sends the proper reading instead of the manual thing that somebody could break into the house or manipulate. So, and that's now the price has been very stable.
Yeah. I think that's good to know your experience is better with the IoT. Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of IoT devices. I would say, I mean, it's the future. We don't need to be manually writing stuff down. And
absolutely. And if we just go back to what you pointed about the batteries and the swap station and so on, because the kind of technology that runs on these electric bikes, of course, is the next step, the next generation to what mobility looks like. It's true that right now, battery technology has really advanced. I mean, you have smaller batteries with packing a lot more energy, and that's why we have electric bikes, electric vehicles, electric buses. But unlike the petrol fuel based bikes and vehicles, for these ones you really need to track the health and performance of the cells, because after some time they lose call it the efficacy to be used on electric bikes.
Yeah, I wonder what the life cycle is on electric bike or
Let's think of the batteries first, because the bike can last for long. I mean, can last for
not a lot of
5
moving
years.
parts and things like you have with the
petrol motor. Yeah. So a lot less moving parts fast. So the bike is definitely going to last long. The battery, on the other hand, I'd say from what we've seen, it's like 2 years on kind of life cycle on the bike.
Yeah.
but doesn't mean it can't be used anywhere else.
So I guess it's still cheaper than buying petrol every week,
It
maybe?
is.
But
It
the
is.
battery's expensive, I know. So maybe the cost sort of averages out if you have to replace the battery every 2
It does.
years.
It does. So once these batteries, of course, lose the kind of capacity to be used on the bikes, they can find used in so many other applications. For backup power, portable power, and so on.
Okay.
That's
So they're
what
not
they
good at that time for maybe reliably operating the bike, but they can operate a backup generator type of situation or backup battery system for the house.
So can have extended reuse applications that can lengthen the lifetime value of the battery for say 5-10 years longer than when, or rather after it's been used on the electric bike. So that circularity is really important right now. That we want to make the investments in technology that lasts quite a lifetime, that unlock more than what they initially intended for. That's also the also of course the bigger perspective that the Internet of Things provides us.
Sure.
We have all this data, we have all this detailed health and cycle information, so we can reasonably and quite accurately predict how useful things can be beyond their fast life use.
Nice. Well, we have the electric bikes, we have the batteries being used in other applications. How far away do you think Kenya is from having electric cars, the Teslas coming in now?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question because they are definitely coming in right now. I mean, I know quite a number of companies that are really making investments in electric vehicles.
I've seen the buses.
The buses are taking off. I mean, the buses are no-brainer. Bus, you go Rome and the like. So those ones are already making the mark in the market, and the adoption is kind of hard to predict because the typical human being doesn't always want to embrace new technology as fast as it's available. It takes time. So what I love the most about the energy perspective in the country is that most of Kenya's energy is green, hydropower, geothermal power. So it's sustainably produced, and if we can have avenues to use it in electric mobility, that's an even bigger win. So the bikes are taking off, the buses are taking off. For the vehicles, I think the consumer market is a whole other animal. I can't quite say I know how fast it's going to happen, but I know a lot more people right now are embracing electric mobility. I mean, it's quiet, safer.
Yeah, it's
less hassle.
and around Nairobi, there's not that many kilometers around Nairobi driving. So if you could charge every night,
Yes,
probably would be okay because it's not such a big area.
Yeah.
I guess the challenge is the power outages. Like I mentioned, the Kenya power is not reliable. So you've got to charge your vehicle to go to work in the morning, and you come out and there's been no power all night.
Yeah, you're not moving anywhere. You're not moving anywhere.
Same thing with the charging stations. I can imagine the charging stations will be completely out, and then with petrol, I've seen these outages, right, where there's no petrol that comes into the country, and there's long queues, right, at the station. But here, I mean, it seems an even bigger challenge because the power can be unreliable sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
Unless you have a solar or something, which I don't know if solar can power those big stations for the cars.
For sure. It is. And being cognizant of that, when all these investments and companies are looking how to set up their networks, the infrastructure for charging and so on, they definitely take all those considerations. So you'd find these electric mobility companies, they usually centralize the operations in a specific part of the city. That addresses the issues to a degree. That yes, they can have the Kenya power power coming in from the grid, but they can also have backup power available just in case they don't have the outages come up. So it's really about striking that balance. Being aware of what you have available. And off-grid technology is also, has really advanced and quite in terms of its reliability and costs. So, to an extent, as you make this, building out this swap station, these charging stations, you're almost required to have your backup energy also figured out, which right now is a lot easier to do than it was 10 years or 20 years ago.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's interesting as well because Kenya has some places that are pretty remote. You don't want to be losing your power in your vehicle in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I've traveled to some of these places, Garissa, and you don't want to be heading to Kakuma or someplace like that, and then all of a sudden your battery's dead and you don't have a place to charge. So it might take a little bit of time before we get enough stations around the country. And I even saw something, I'm sure they got this resolved, but when the first couple of guys tried to bring in I guess it was Tesla, I think the government couldn't even deal with it because the taxes are based on the cc's of the vehicle or something. Their mind just exploded when it was
they can't deal with it.
Yeah.
They couldn't handle it. Yeah, it's maybe that's probably also the other challenge is the adoption that our policymakers aren't catching up fast enough.
Yeah.
I think about technology, it's very unforgiving in how it moves. How it doesn't give you any warning. There's no cue, lights, camera, action, nothing of the sort. Technology just takes off and happens. So over time, we're definitely going to see a lot more, rapid, let's say, responsiveness at a policy level, at a lawmakers level. But yes, you're quite right. It's definitely quite a problem to how this helping these technologies break through into this market.
Yeah. Well, I think for Kenya, it'll be a very good thing having these alternative power sources kind of bypass the whole, petrol life cycle and how to get petrol into the country and get it distributed. And I think it's a big advantage if it can be done correctly.
It is.
Well, tell us about maybe one of your other products. We talked about the bike electronics. What else do you guys do?
In a broad sense, we do build IoT devices. So I could speak about more recent ones that we shipped out to Namibia. It's an air quality monitoring product, and it's just a small sensor. I really wish I'd carried some of them, but it's a small sensor, that battery-powered sensor that collects information on dust particles, kind of like particulate matter concentration.
Yeah.
Stuff that would irritate your breathing system.
Sure.
Collects data on temperature and humidity and carbon monoxide level. So the use case is for just a research study to understand the risks of the exposures of different households to different fuels that they use. Is it charcoal? Is it gas? Is it wood? So you need such IoT devices that can just serve as data collection objects that you can deploy far and wide and collect all this data with ease without being manually there. So that's one of the more the recent products that we've built. It took us about 6 months to do. Quite complex in how interface with the sensors. Make them work on battery. Have it running purely on battery. Make sure it's communicating properly. Make sure it's usable, because at the end of the day, you building the technology aren't going to be the user. You're building technology for other users. So getting that into perspective has been quite an interesting journey.
And I guess what role do you play? I mean, you're the CTO, right?
Yes.
And so what role does a CTO play in all this? Because you're talking about looking at air quality particles and electronics. Like, what does a CTO for a company like this do?
I mean, from my experience, I came to learn each CTO's experience is quite different in terms of what you are required to do. By definition, you need to be the one guiding the technology roadmap and adoption within the company. That's what the CTO does. But it's a little more nuanced, because when building products, designing and manufacturing products for use, you really need to have really need to get intimate with your users, with your customers. What do they need? And how do they need it? How should it work for them? What aspects do you build into the technology to make it usable? So translating those requirements, those needs, those challenges into the tech is kind of what the CTO does.
Yeah.
And knowing how we are going to solve this using technology is one thing. What technology we're going to use is another thing.
Yeah.
And then now helping or enabling the team to build that out, because all these products have different elements that need to be developed? Is it the 3D design? Is it the electronics design? Is it the energy and the power management design? Is it the integration and software, transmission, communication design? So bringing all that together from, I guess, from a very high level perspective, then bringing it down now to all these different components is what I do.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think a lot of our younger viewers who are just starting in their career, they might like to know that, because when I have the picture of a CTO, I think of some nerdy guy in the lab. He's just tinkering with things, blowing things up.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is some of that to some extent, like, but it's very interesting to see that perspective where you're up at a higher level thinking, what do our customers need? How can I bring all these pieces together? We have the detect the chemicals, we have to do the 3D design, we have to the circuit boards,
the logistics is also another thing.
How are we going to do it at a good price? Yeah, and that's a question I'd have in this manufacturing, because I always envision this takes a lot of money to, like, parts, running a facility, 3D printing. How is that? I mean, is it a very cash intensive type of operation to do this type of thing, or is it more you're designing and then there's less risk up front?
It's to a degree it is cash intensive, because well, you need to have money to buy parts. I mean, there's no other way about it. What I can be happy to say is that once you have the system ongoing, you have the ecosystem in place, you have all these partners, you have the team in place, and gain some experience, build a few products, ship them out to market, you start seeing, I think of it as a convergence in the kind of modular parts and designs that you can use and you can replicate across different products.
And I guess, how does it work? Do you get a demo first, and then you go to the customer and say, here's like the demo of what we want to do, and then you get a contract with them, and so that helps you to maybe offset the cost a little bit? Is that a typical path, or?
Try and avoid that. We try and avoid that. We bake it into the design process, that we do have to develop a demo version that does everything on a very rugged basis. So that what that does, it validates the idea, it validates the functionalities, and to an extent proves that the product can actually work and it can actually be manufactured. Then beyond the demo now is when we transition to a much more refined design, production scale design that can be, of course, more appealing to use, and more importantly, can be manufactured. So we have to balance that out as we build these products, that the customer gets to understand the process, that we need to do a very rough, sketchy version of what you want to build. We can't just go out into the design until we figured out that yes, it can work and it should work this way, and this is what we need to do better. And when we're going to the actual manufacturing production scale, what is it going to look like? It has to be proven prior to the the production design.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you could tell us how you got this idea that you wanted to co-found a company like this. Where'd that come from?
I'd say it's really just the background that I had. I studied electrical engineering at the University of Nairobi, and I got the opportunity to get exposed to communities and spaces that were making stuff. One of them is was Gearbox. They're still out today. They do have an SMT line industrial area that helps us assemble the board. So there's quite a lot that I was doing, from schoolwork to within those spaces that were in college. And then after that, started seeing these gaps in the local scene that, as you pointed out earlier, I mean, there's a lot of reliance on, imported goods. Yeah. So I had a knack for breaking things up when I was small. I mean, just trying to see what's on the inside. So I kind of led into this obsession that, why can't we build this? What's the reason why this can't be done? Yeah, so we do have the knowledge, we do have the skills. The technology is quite, I'd say to an extent quite available. You just have to know what is used for what at any given time. So that mindset is what led into this. We started out with I think of industrial applications. Uh, One example is an industrial integration controller that helps factories be able to track their production tracking, their batching, just kind of tie in their quality assurance solution. So you need controllers that can integrate industrial equipment, monitor their activity, and who's using them and so on. So it all starts from that reality that most of these operations, most of these companies need to modernize and adopt smart technology. So that's the driving force behind how we started it.
Oh wow, that's pretty amazing. And it's interesting because I think if you were to go out in the global economy and ask, who's leading in manufacturing, I don't think Kenya would necessarily be top of the list for electronics manufacturing. I mean, you might have the South Koreas, the China, you have all these different places, but it's not a place that immediately comes to mind. But as I'm thinking about it, these processes are here, the machines are there to do this manufacturing, circuit boards. I mean, it's not like some complicated thing. Now, I could imagine, let's say, semiconductor design. I don't think I've seen a semiconductor fabrication plant here in Kenya.
There is one.
Is there one?
Yeah, it's called STL.
Yeah.
It's they're doing. Don't quite remember the resolution of the chips, but it's true. It's still nascent, quite young. They're just starting out. But as you said, the more available and readily, ways to adopt this electronics manufacturing is already in place. It's true. Kenya hasn't picked up yet, but we're picking up speed. I mean, there's an awareness, an awakening as well that's happening to even within government, public and private spaces that we need to be able to build out this technology. Software is pretty matured to a degree. We're able to we have all these very large software companies within the country that serve the continent, that serve the globe. So that in itself is a testament that as technology drivers, as technology leaders, we're quite there and we're quite capable of running this to the top, all the way to the top.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's very interesting to me. I started out my background in electrical engineering as well, and doing these type of circuit board designs and all of that type of thing. And I moved into the software space. And that's where software is quite interesting because, like you mentioned, in Kenya, we can just give somebody a laptop, some YouTube training videos. You're good to go. You don't need a lot of setup. And so that's why a lot of guys in software are kind of going more globally. We have the Microsoft, we have Google here. And so a lot of guys are able to, even remotely say, oh, I'll program something from a company in Germany or wherever. So that industry has been very successful, but I think it's much more challenging for what you guys are doing to get to the global stage. So what would you say your vision is? Are you looking to mainly build this out in East Africa or all of Africa, or are you trying to go global right away? What's your current focus?
For a start, we definitely have a continental reach right now. I mean, we've crossed that.
You were mentioning Namibia, maybe?
Yes, and South Africa as well, and a bit of stuff in Uganda and Tanzania. So we know it's possible to access the continent, and we've also proven that we can access the globe with some of our customers being from the western and eastern markets. What we see is quite a huge opportunity. When I look at Egypt, a case in point, Egypt has a very well developed electronics manufacturing ecosystem. These large OEMs rely on their production facilities in Egypt to ship their products to the Middle East and also to North Africa and East Africa. The thing about manufacturing, the closer it is to the market, the cheaper and the more accessible it is. So it's really a natural path that the industry is going to take. That once we're able to show, as we're showing right now, that we can do this here, we expect these global players who are, the Apples, the Samsungs, who are, shipping very large volumes of electronic products to seize that opportunity as well.
Yeah.
So developing the knowledge and the ecosystem is kind of what we do have to do. So same way you say, like the software industry did. It's really just a natural path that we have to take. That we have to be able to build the capacity, build the talent, and now scream it to the world. That, look, we can do this here. We can do it at the same quality. And sorry to say this, but we can do it cheaper.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always an advantage.
Yeah, well, that's
for big corporates.
People want cheap stuff, for
Of
sure.
course,
I mean,
of course,
cheaper the price, the better.
Exactly.
And that's one challenge I've noticed within Africa, or maybe East Africa, that the duties and tariffs and everything getting across the borders can be quite a challenge. Of course, we're dealing with that now in the U.S. They keep talking about tariffs on Mexico and China and different places. So that obviously adds a lot, even 10, 20% adding on to the good. But I've even noticed sometimes you try to send something from Kenya to Uganda, for instance, all of a sudden it goes to the border. Now we need 50%, 60%.
Slap whatever they do on the goods, and it's very fragmented, very chaotic.
Have you guys noticed some of this or had experience with it?
Yes, 100%. The export market is definitely the end goal. I mean, once you're exporting things, that's when manufacturing becomes, can be termed as successful. So earlier on, we're discussing about how slow the policymakers can be, and it's slow both at a national, at a country level, but also at a continental level. That lack of integration, across the borders, creates a lot of difficulties in enabling the goods to flow freely. So, as much as we can, we are able to compete on the cost of production, that's still a burden.
You lose it on the
yes,
the duties and the
exactly. We lose
the
it
tariffs
on
and everything.
Yeah. So it's definitely a big problem, and of course for this industry to take off, that's one of the things that needs to be addressed fast. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the thing for maybe the policymakers to pay attention to is like we've got guys here who are ready to ship goods and build manufacturing capability here in country. So those things need to be reviewed and reviewed quickly, because if you want to have these type of jobs in the country, which is ultimately the way for the country to move forward and succeed, you don't need to be importing everything from China. I mean, just make the China economy grow. Why not bring it in-house?
Why not bring it here? And I mean, to an extent, even China, supports that, because they have all the experience and technology to transfer to enable that, to build that ecosystem out. Because what's happening to China right now, of course, it took away all the manufacturing from the developed markets. That's what really brought it to the level where it is right now. But it's running into all this, capacity and all these global trade issues that are ongoing right now. That is an advantage to us. I mean, because like I said, being able to build this capacity here, that we can show all this technology can be shipped and manufactured from here, is really what these developed markets are looking for. And there is something that also drives us is when you look at the discourse around the perspectives of investments to Africa. One of the things they say is that it's a very large market. It's always about Africa being a large market, more than 1 billion people. It's always about, these are so many consumers who can buy product, but we are really trying to change that by helping the world understand we are not just a market, but we're also like a production and a producer kind of continent, that we do have this capabilities of producing products that can ship to the world. I mean, we're shipping software at crazy levels of scale without all the advantages, for lack of a better word, that the Western and Eastern markets have.
Well, I think that's what the policymakers need to understand, is that, let's just say even your product of testing the air particles and quality and things like that. I mean, that's something that could be used across the world, every market. Why isn't Kenya making that and shipping to Iceland and to wherever, different places? I mean, it could just be completely global. It's a product that is needed in different places, and I think that's what we've discussed a lot. Is a lot of time when investors come in, yes, they're thinking Africa. They're thinking, okay, it's a big market here, but it's really seems to be regionally focused. A lot of the products that you deal with are, and you've probably been involved in some, is okay, we're going to make a product for smallhold farmers in East Africa, and it's going to be very focused on, the need. Even if it's IoT, it's something very specific to the use case, but it's not, always thinking of like how can this expand to be worldwide. Maybe in software, but in hardware, it seems like there's still some thinking around that.
Unfortunately, yes, that's very true. That what has informed a lot of the kind of the hardware technology that's been built out is the consideration of the users and the market that's here. Is it smallholder farmers? Is it low to middle income communities? What do they need to maybe to use better, have access to energy, cleaner cooking experiences, and so on? That has definitely informed and driven what the industry, what the electronics and hardware manufacturing industry does.
Yeah.
There's no denying that, and it's pretty good. I mean, because when you look at it from the global perspective, it's not driven by consumerism. It's not driven by that appetite for products, for new products. It's driven by the needs that are here on the continent. But the advantage to that is that the solutions and the technology that comes out of that intention and the intent that we're seeing is that these are core technologies that are driving that can drive the whole world forward. That technologies that everyone can use. Technology is only as useful as it is available. Once you can access technology, that's when it really becomes useful. So we'd like, yes, to keep doing these kinds of hardware products, but we're lending ourselves into a whole other industry that we can build smartphones, can build solar systems, all these core technologies that are needed on a global stage.
Sure. What would you say would be like a big product your company's thinking about, or I don't know if it's like top secret in stealth mode or something like that. You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but
well, if it's a top secret, I mean.
So you guys have some big things in the work, I guess, is what you'd say.
Yeah, I could just allude to it on a high level, maybe not. Sure. Be very specific that we're building a lot of battery technologies. There's a lot of opportunities and gaps we're seeing in energy delivery systems. So that you don't always need to have grid power to have the same experience that a typical household would have. Yeah. You can have with the right battery technology, you can have that figured out. You can have enough batteries, with sizable batteries that can run your household, can run your operation. So, and also at a consumer level, having backup power, having a portable power. That's a really big opportunity we're seeing. So that's what we're building out. I won't be specific yet, but
sure.
You'll get to see it.
No, that's a big area, particularly going to the home battery solutions. I mean, anything that can get around Kenya Power, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, I started with the diesel generators, I guess, as backup power at my place. And it works really well. I mean, you get a lot of energy out of it. Yeah. But then the mechanics of it, the maintenance of it, and particularly with the fundis that we have here, I had a guy come to work on the generator, and he forgot to connect the petrol hose back properly after he was doing the adjustments. So he turned it on, and the petrol sprayed all over the generator, just gone. It's and the guy's like, "Sorry, nothing I can do for you. Now pay me my money for repairing the generator." So after that experience happened, and I was so frustrated, so I started thinking about, okay, I need to now go into the battery space to, batteries seem to have less moving pieces. I mean, the only challenge that it's been is like particularly if you want to go for a full solar solution, I think to do a large amount of power is quite expensive still. The prices come down substantially, but I think the batteries seem to be like even the highest cost component so far right now.
Yeah, of those systems, yes. And that presents the opportunity to, like, that we're saying that we kind of how technology is being adopted, at least in Kenya and this African market, is a very decentralized kind of way, where even when you look at the electric mobility, how it's being built out, it's based on swap stations that you can go in and swap the batteries and so on. So why can't energy delivery be done in a similar manner that only focus on that cost component that really burdens you the most, that's the most critical one, is the one that you need to put your efforts in. You don't need to set up a whole solar farm to be able to harvest energy and so on. So look at a thriving ecosystem where we can have just circular infrastructure in place to deliver gas. The same way you have the gas delivered to you. Why don't you have batteries delivered to you? Why don't you have all this energy delivered to you in such a manner that the production can be concentrated at central locations? You don't have to own the production, the energy production as well, but you can still have the same experience.
Sure. Well, that's what's interesting, because like in the home scenario, it's not like you're using those batteries every day. Right? The power goes out. I don't know, with Kenya Power, last month I had power out 7 days out of the month. So it can be a lot, but maybe let's say 1 or 2 days a month you're having a power problem. So it's not like you need, like you say, to buy all this solar infrastructure and everything just to support those little power outages. So you need something more simple that can handle it. So I think you're kind of alluding to, there's a lot of opportunity out there in the market for creative ideas to come in and think about how can we change the mindset around this. Well, how did you get kind of interested in this idea of electronics and stuff? Maybe kind of go back a little bit as you were like a kid. You mentioned taking stuff apart, and when you're a kid, but where do you come from? Like where?
Oh yeah. So I was born in Kisii, born and raised in Kisii. Started out my life there. My family was there. Mom and dad were there. Then after a while, of course, went to high school and university. But prior to then, I up to this date, me and my mom sort of have this beef going on, because I used to break a lot of things when I was small. And it's really not a fact of clumsiness. I mean, I admit I was a bit clumsy when I was small, but also just out of that sheer curiosity, I always wanted to see,
what type of things were you taking apart?
The toys, also like the remote, the VHS recorder. I'm sure you know what that is. I'm not sure if our audience.
I know my dad would have killed me if I had taken apart the TV remote. That would have been like a war in the house.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So I think one of the earliest experiences I had was being able to switch light bulbs. I was like, wow, I can actually do that. Yeah. And then the other experience I had that really set off was I think these old radios that run from the socket usually had these rectifier components, that converts the energy from the socket to what the radio can use. So being able to replace that, of course, we did that with the fundi, but I kind of saw what he did. He only replaced that and it started working. I was like, wow, this is so easy to do. I mean, it's so straightforward. You just have to know how to connect, the replacement part, the part you're replacing, and how it connects up. That's all you need to figure out. And you're good to go. So that was like, this is something I would definitely be very interested in doing. At the time, I had no idea. I mean, I was all over the place, typical Kenyan dream. Maybe I want to be a lawyer, maybe I want to be a doctor, maybe I want to be, a pilot and so on. But back then, when I was that young, I never really thought about, engineering and what really goes into it. And then over time, I think in high school, when started learning about electronics and electricity, was when that really sparked it up. I was like, wow, okay, there is a lot, big opportunity here that seems interesting. First off, because after some time, when you're just learning things as a young learner and everything, there is that one thing that really ticks you off. Like, wow, I would really like to do this. I would really like to learn a lot more about this, and a lot more about this than what I have right now. So that that history, that background is what led to the choices I made when I finished high school, joining college, what I majored in. That's really kind of how it happened. And then college again, the reinforcement happened when, of course, we started learning electronics more deeply and started actually interacting with them. So that all that build up got me to where I am. Got me to where I am right now, and it's quite challenging and stressful to a degree. I mean, because not knowing how to do something up to the point where you're able to do it reliably for customers, for users, that has been quite an experience.
I mean, that's what I've found. I studied electrical engineering as well, and one of the skills that I found from engineering or electrical engineering, particularly for some reason, and it maybe has to do with the mathematical aspect of it that's so intense, but it really helps you to develop this way of solving problems step by step that is very methodical compared to other things. So when a challenge hits you and then it's like, oh, I don't know if I can figure this out, you just kind of go back to that methodical approach, and usually you can come to the conclusion of what you need to figure out. Have you kind of seen that?
Yeah, quite a lot. I mean, because the engineering school, beats that into you. For you to pass all those grades, there's a lot
some of the toughest days, I guess.
Yeah, the science, the physics, the mathematics is very unforgiving. I mean, you kind of have to learn it, and it's not necessarily as for the reason that you will be using all that knowledge, but it's really to build out that that mentality and that attitude into you. That how you approach problems, how you look at things, how you take them from start to finish, has to be a very well structured and very well informed manner that involves yes, that deep understanding of the science and the maths, but also that experience building out from start to finish is.
And I think that's something also maybe for the young viewers that are trying to decide on their career is, I know, for instance, I don't use probably 75% of the electrical engineering things I studied in school. I can't remember a lot of them, but that journey, I guess, of going through the process of learning how to think, how to solve problems, and how to handle challenges when they come your way, I think is a good part of the journey for that type of curriculum, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's not just a good part; it's a very essential part of that journey. I really get frustrated when I see all this discourse and perspectives that, oh, you don't need to go to college, you don't need to do all this, you can just learn things on YouTube. I mean, that's technically true, it's technically possible, but the learning experience builds a lot of character into you as a person, not just as a worker or as a technologist or an innovator, so to speak. That learning experience enhances your your ability to work with people, your ability to communicate, your ability to think, your ability to to lose your way and find your way. So it's really, really important to have that, and always a big advocate for just get a higher degree, higher diploma, learn to that level that is competitive enough before you can get comfortable in the world, that whatever it is you want to do in the world.
Sure. Well, I guess as you've started in your career, and I guess you've had multiple positions on your journey to be a founder.
Yes. Yeah. It's been all over the place. Truth be told, I didn't always have the founder and entrepreneurial in place all the time. I do have experiences working in corporate, to work for some technology companies, and I think that experience has helped a great deal in the entrepreneurship journey. Working, having the privilege to work in these large companies exposes you to that grand and large scale and corporate and global perspective, being able to deal with different people from different countries, from different cultures. That has really helped to shape my journey into the entrepreneurship space. So I I can't say like I would like everyone, to have that similar experience. That I think it's important to get, to get employment. It's just as important as much as entrepreneurship is exciting. It's 10 times or 100 times more stressful than it is. But every personal journey has its own value to it. That you can start it out as an entrepreneurship, you can start off as working in any company. It doesn't really matter, but having a very clear intention and vision of where you want to be is the most important thing. So that corporate experience didn't really change what I wanted to do in the long term, but it just enhanced my ability.
Gave you the early skills, I guess, as you're getting started.
Exactly.
Yeah, learn about the journey.
Yeah, I think one of the main things I learned the most about is from that space is communication. Learning how to communicate. It's not the greatest skills that engineers have.
But it takes some time to learn that communication, and a lot of people aren't necessarily born with it or even trained on it. I mean, in engineering education, they teach you how to do math problems but they don't teach you how to, deal with different cultures, different people. Well, you mentioned the entrepreneurship journey is like way more stressful. So maybe, do you have any secrets you can divulge to us about something that went crazy wrong as you're starting the company, or something that you feel comfortable sharing with us?
A lot of things I've gone through. There's no denying that. That we've lost, we've definitely lost our way in a sense. We got, there's a point where we weren't too sure if this is where we really wanted to go. We'd interact with finance, investors and venture capitalists, and they'd tell us not the best feedback, not the best responses, because capital is always the challenge. That you don't always have capital. You don't have it dropped on your lap to enable you run things. But overcoming those challenges has been, I'd say, the hardest part of that experience. That how do we make sure we have money to pay bills? You need to rent a space. You need to have employees. They need to be paid every month, whether or not business is doing
whether
well.
or not you made any money.
Exactly. It's always a reality that you have to contend with, and then chicken and egg situation where I need to make money for money to come to the company, but when I don't have money, I can't make money, so it's a catch-22 that you're in, because starting that engine takes a toll on you. That takes everything that you've got, what they call the bootstrapping and so on. So that has been really, really difficult to overcome. I think also maturing the experience in record time, because when I look at our company, majority of us are less than 30 years old. So the engineers there that are working there, the leadership teams, barely young, barely, in the grand scale of things, not much industry experience. You can put it that way. But with the right talent and drive, we've been able to mature our experiences and our abilities to deliver all these products at scale. So contending with capital issues, skill and experience issues, global dynamics. I mean, we're walking into another situation where we might not be able to get some parts from China because our US customers won't use them if they came from China. So yes, seeing all that play out is scary and daunting, but and it's very fulfilling. It's a very fulfilling experience.
Yeah. Maybe you mentioned that some of the investors have given you some tough feedback. Is there any particular things that that's really shocked you that they've said to you?
It's first things first was they think it's not worth the time and investment, that it's capital intensive. I think you pointed that out. We need to have cash. We need to have money to be able to buy parts and so on. So that is not very appealing to investors who want 20x, 100x on their return.
Yeah.
They don't want to burn as much cash on an off chance that this might work or might not work. So
I wonder why that's maybe like the investors are really into AI right now because you can just do an AI software company and there's no, I mean, yes, you have the talent, you have to, pay for engineers, but you're not throwing it away on parts and things like that.
yeah, it's a bit odd,
Yeah.
when we take in that feedback that we got from them, and then look at what they actually do in the market. Then and the success rate of what they do in the first place is pretty bad.
Well, yeah, those guys, I mean, I don't know the statistics, but I always thought like if they invest in like 30 companies, like they want one to be like, the extremely successful, and then the other ones they know are either going to like, I forget what they call it. They call it like zombie companies or something. Like you might get to a point where you're making enough money, but they're not interested because they're not making money off you essentially.
Yeah. So that's also what I guess really informs them. Also guides their thinking in the kind of companies they invest in. They would like it to be as compact as possible, with the ability to explode into unicorn scale. That's always the dream for them.
Yeah, that's what they have to have. Which there's nothing wrong with that, I guess. I mean, that's their business, right? They have to hold to their investors. So they and like they're saying, they know that most companies. Well, the way I look at it is like there's a lot of companies where you could make a pretty good living. Like say what you guys are doing. Let's say even if you didn't go international, you could make a good living for you and your partners to, to even if you scale a few countries, and be very comfortable, and yeah, there's a good business there. But you may not necessarily have to go to all ends of the world, selling your product to be at that multi, Elon Musk's type scale. But those guys, they want everything to be like an Elon Musk type of company, right?
It's a tragedy, to be honest, because our own perspective at where we are as a company right now is to be sustainable. That the business needs to generate enough to feed itself and drive itself forward. So we do have those lofty dreams as well, that we want to be, $1 billion kind of valuation and so
exactly.
And of course, we are very aware that it's not always the case.
Sure.
But you can, as
you're
you
going to try for it.
Yeah, we're going to try for it. We're going to try for it. We do want to scale. We do want, we know the opportunities we're seeing, and we have a very grounded and realistic, understanding of how we're going to get there. And that's really what has, gotten us to the point where we are right now. That just balancing what we're able to achieve at this scale that we're in, as we aim to the next stage. So it has been opening up the past few years, as more and more consumers and companies are modernizing, they're adopting this smart technology. We are becoming an undeniable reality about them. That same way you look at the whole digital transformation wave that's happening in all in companies right now, that they need to adopt cloud, they need to adopt software as a service, all this tech terms. Smart technology is also a very core part of it. I think even before we get to artificial intelligence and machine learning, you need to have the right stockpile of data. You need to have it warehoused properly. You need to have it cleaned properly, and the sources of that, all those data points need to be reliable and contextualized to whatever application and use case they are. So there's an undeniable reality that's on our on our view right now, that we need to capitalize on, and that's what we're.
That's like, even if the investors are investing in a lot of AI companies, like you said, you guys are on the front line because you're developing the tools to get the data in, so it can be actually processed. So, I mean, that's a exciting thing, and having hard assets are good, I guess. I mean, I think as an investor, I think that would be a very interesting thing to say. Hey, these guys have are shipping physical products. It's not something. It's not the virtual framework we're looking at. It's the actual.
It's an actual reality that what goes in versus what would come out. It's usually very much more clearer and driven by facts.
Yeah, and I know that IoT's been around for a very long time. I remember back in the 80s growing up, and Bill Gates was talking about the smart home of the future. We're going to have all these fancy things. And a lot of things did come true. What else, what other type of IoT things do you think you'd like to see in the Kenyan home going forward that would be interesting?
Yeah, one, I could go back to your issues with power.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Kenya Power, rather.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have loved to be sure that once you leave your house, everything is offline.
Yeah.
Everything has been switched off. Nothing is consuming power. And if there's anything intruding or move coming into your house, be it as a person or an animal or an insect, you'd like to be aware of that so that you don't have any surprises.
So you think a lot of these security systems, sensors to see, door sensors, I guess all those things.
Yeah. And then I also look at that the modern standard of living embraces a lot of I guess fossil fuels, vehicles, being in an industrialized environment where the air quality isn't always the best.
Yeah.
And we're living in an age where a lot of these respiratory diseases are quite a problem. They're actually one of the main killers. But yes, we've gone beyond the malarias and the typhoid and all these diseases that used to plague us from decades ago. Right now, the problems we are contending with are a fact of our environment.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite serious as well. I know one of the houses, even actually where I stay now. Yeah. So about 8 months ago, I started getting these sicknesses. I thought maybe it was like COVID or long COVID or something. I didn't know. I was so sick every morning. I'd wake up sneezing and coughing. And
it's simply because you're not aware of what you're exposed to.
Exactly.
Yes. And that's where IoT comes in.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened to me because, I mean, for months, and I kept saying, I thought it was maybe, they talk about long COVID or something. I didn't know what it was, and I couldn't determine. And after 6 months, I have this lady who cleans the house, and she comes to me, she says, well, sometimes I'm cleaning the inside of the drawers where I put your shirts. And there's all this white stuff that grows in there, and I just wash it out. But it keeps growing. So like there's mold growing inside the drawer, and so I was getting exposed to stuff. So immediately I got rid of the drawer, and I was well. So if I had some kind of device, I could tell the air quality. Oh, this thing's there. Oh, it'd be so helpful because a lot of people suffer with those type of illnesses and they don't know what they're being exposed to.
Yeah, and now even you would like to think even like your children and the next generations as they grow up in these environments and these homes that we're in, being exposed to all this at a much younger age, of course, is a much bigger risk for them.
Yeah.
So IoT now comes in to really solve these problems. That you can have a much more pronounced awareness of what your house is like, what your environment is like, what risks factors are building up or they're decreasing and so on, and also even understand the effects of for what you use, the effects of the fuel you use to cook, the effects of the electronics or machines or equipment you have in the house. Being much more aware of that is really enhances our lives, enhances our experiences as being.
I remember the interesting one. I remember Bill Gates back in the 80s talking about was the smart toilet. So it could you wake up in the morning and you can analyze how sick you are.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think we should definitely be thinking of getting to that point. That even if it's not your individual toilet, can we build all this smartness into our sewer system, into our water and sewage system that we constantly have 100% visibility of what the quality of the water that comes into the house, and also what goes out of the house, that what risk factors are developing, what contaminants are developing, and it really enables scaling out of large scale, large infrastructure.
Yeah, much better. Yeah, I would imagine if they could do something with the water system. I always feel it's a gamble to drink the Kenya water.
Oh yeah,
it's always I've been here for 12 years. I've been here long enough to know. that
it is a fact. It is a fact of life that yes, it's clean water, but just don't
not so clean. Don't drink. Don't
don't
drink
drink it. Yeah, don't drink it. Yeah, don't drink it because you don't really know what how old the piping system is. If it's wear and tear, the quality of the water production. So tying all this information and data collection points together is what the Internet of Things does, and that's the opportunity for what we're seeing.
Yeah, I could imagine if they could get some sensors along the way to how many parts per million of different contaminants and things like that. That will definitely help maybe stop outbreaks and things like that. I saw somebody recently in the Congo, somebody ate a bat again, they said, and now they're saying that 50 people died of some crazy thing. And now, yeah, you have to be careful with these epidemics spreading again. We don't want the COVID thing happening.
Absolutely. Yeah. So building the technology that enables us, scale out, our experiences as communities, as societies, is very, very important. It's one thing to have everything available on our phone, but also another thing to ensure that our environment, the roads, our homes, our workplaces are safe, are always safe to be in. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, what advice would you give, like the young people out there that are trying to become a CTO one day or found a company? What type of advice would you give to them?
First things first. Anything and everything is hard to do. I mean, nothing is also hard to do. Just sitting around doing nothing is also is just as hard.
Probably harder longer term to do that.
Exactly. It comes a lot harder. But my point is, we're in a world where there's so many opportunities. There's so much. Who knew content creation was such a big thing even 10 years ago?
Sure.
I mean, it's always evolving, and what drives that evolution is the technology. Right. But the technology doesn't drive itself. We drive that technology. Sure. So you don't always have to be the next, Elon Musk. You don't have to be the next Jensen Huang of NVIDIA and so on. But technology can take any shape and form. Sure. That's because I can only give that perspective because I come from the technology space myself. But my point is, you need to pick your hard, and you need to run with it. There's nothing easy. Employment is not easy. Entrepreneurship is not easy. Being not employed is also not easy. You really need to pick your hard and really drive all your life into it. Because thing about life, you get what you give. You give 100%, you get 100%, probably even more if you give 100%. But you need to put yourself out there and need to know that you need to learn every day. The learning experience doesn't end, when you get your degree, or you get your master's, or you get that promotion at work. The learning experience never ends. Actually, it will end probably.
Only increases more.
Yes, exactly. The learning opportunities and needs grow as you grow older, as you grow into your space and so on. So embrace that that reality, that attitude that you need to have, to put yourself out there for a long time. I don't want to deny that some things might take off quickly. If you're in the right place and the right time, you can actualize yourself in a few years. But for most of us, it's taken time. It's taken quite a bit of time, taken quite a lot of concentration, quite a lot of discipline. I don't like using motivation. Motivation is very fleeting. It's a very fleeting sensation. But the discipline and the mentality needs to be there.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then, what's sort of next for your company? I know you had some kind of top secret things that y'all are talking about, but are y'all looking for more funding anytime soon? Or y'all just growing the product? Like, what's sort of the next steps for you guys?
Yes. So we after the frustrations we had with seeking funding earlier on, we just bolted out and
bootstrapped it.
Exactly. Yeah, we put all our hard experiences into making it work. Of course, now it's working. A lot is working quite well right now. As much as we have a very broad product perspective, we're definitely getting into very specific sectors that we are focusing our energy a lot more. So we're looking for growth. That growth, of course, is in just some expansion that we need to do, because at the scale we need, we believe we can achieve around 20 to 50x with an expansion that will take maybe 3 or 5x, so to speak, in terms of what the company is as resources, as engineers, workspace, as equipment. With a very little bit of investment, we know we can go quite a long way. So that multiplication factor has become very clear I think even over just the past recent year of what we can actually achieve. So we're looking at expansion. At some point, we'd like to set up a manufacturing facility. That's really just where we're going, and we'd like that, of course, to really be the driver of our own products. But we also want to open up a space where we can produce products.
Kind of partner with other people that are designing other things and help provide some manufacturing capacity in electronics.
Exactly, yes. And then I think also the other key thing we're really looking into is the analytics and understanding all this data, all this data we are generating using IoT devices, because we've translated the needs into the actual tech that collects the data, but making the sense of the data is also another big opportunity for us.
So yeah, I think, Felix, that's about the questions I have for you. Are there any other topics you want to cover? Or?
Yeah, we could talk about artificial intelligence a bit.
Yes, it's a
yeah
hot topic nowadays, right?
Yeah, it is all the topics, right? Because when I was in corporate, I worked for a company that enables these other companies with the right technology for them to run things, be it the cloud, and software, networking, internet, all this core infrastructure that we're working with. So one of the gaps we were seeing was in these, how this how all this data that the companies are generating is being used or not being used in the first place. So I'd say before we really take that leap into adopting artificial intelligence, we need to really mature our understanding of data first.
Yeah.
Understanding of what sources we have, how to store it, and how to handle it in the first place. Because I'd say that's one of the biggest gaps that most all these large scale companies they have a lot of data, they're not using it well.
Yeah.
But they shouldn't, or rather, we shouldn't think AI is going to be just a silver bullet that's going to make everything better overnight.
Sure. Well, we've had machine learning, which is a subset of AI, I guess you would say a subset of AI. Yeah. And that's been around for quite a while. This AI boom kind of took off with the Chat GPT and the LLMs have come in. But this machine learning using machine learning to process data, I guess is what I would say, has been around for quite a while. And you have machine learning engineers and data engineers who try to process this data, and it can be so overwhelming at times. You have to clean the data, you have to bring all the data sources together, and usually you don't know what you have available. And what I mean by that is you don't know which factors are going to determine how you're going to build your models. Yes. So we deal with this with SafeBoda, for instance. We have all the data about who's taking rides with us, where are they going, where are they coming from, what prices are they willing to pay. If they see a certain price, are they going to drop off the screen and go to a different competitor? Also with drivers, are drivers going to call and negotiate the price with you? Which drivers are going to cancel on you, not come pick you up? We have all of this data, but you don't really know what factors contribute to what. So like, for instance, you want to be sure you match somebody with a good driver who's going to have the right behaviors. Yeah. Well, you don't know necessarily by looking at the data straight on which drivers are going to have the right behavior. Because maybe, for instance, a driver, they don't want to take somebody on a short trip. Yes. Right? That's an example. Now, some drivers don't care, but some drivers are like, oh no, the trip's too short, it's not worth my time to get the money. Even though we've shown to drivers that actually taking a few short trips actually make more money than taking a long trip to Westlands or someplace like that. So, what's interesting, I find fascinating about machine learning models is you feed in all the data, and if you provide it with the right type of model, it'll help you discover what those patterns are. It help you to discover what is it about the driver? For instance, I'm using this as an example, right? It's like, maybe a driver at 7 a.m. on a Monday, he's being very selective about the trips, but by the time the end of the week comes and he needs cash, maybe he's, not as selective. So maybe time of the day or day of the week is more important, or maybe the geo area, maybe they see a trip going to a really nice suburb or something. Okay, I'll take that one.
So
But
so you can pick up these patterns
yeah,
and the human element from
yes,
all this data.
yeah, because you can't
Yeah.
you can't do that just by looking at the CSV file that comes out of the data. Look at your database. You can't visualize that. But when you feed all this in, and then it'll tell you, yeah, here's, it's all about probabilities a lot of times. Okay, this guy's 90% likely to take this trip if you send it to him. So we're trying to. That's one of the way we use machine learning. Out of the many examples of what we're trying to do is think through, how do I get you the best driver, the best experience, and instead of just giving you a random guy to come.
Isn't always the best. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
need to optimize how you also allocate the riders. There can be 10 riders, but this rider will work for this kind of consumer, for the kind of trip they're taking, for the length of the trip they're taking. This driver would be best.
Yeah, exactly. And you just can't always tell like what factors it is. I remember there was this really interesting study. There's this big supermarket chain in the U.S. called Target. I don't know if you know this thing, Target. It's a big one. It's a little red circular dot thing. Yeah. And so what they did, they hired a data engineer, and I don't know the exact details, so don't quote me on this story. But what they did is Target wanted to determine. They wanted to sell to new families. So if somebody's gonna have a baby, they know that the parents who have a new baby, they buy so many things. The stroller, the car seat, the Pampers, all these things. They buy these things. So they wanted to start sending the coupons, the promo codes to the new families before they had the baby, like 2 weeks before the baby comes. You'll start getting promotions that say, here, buy Pampers, buy the stroller. So yeah, they can reach out to you because there's so much money that new parents spend, and they want you to come spend money. So what they did is they took all the shopping data, because people are shopping in the stores, and what they realized is they were looking for what items you would buy that would determine if you were going to have a baby in a few months, right? So, and what they determined, it was like strange things like a washcloth, some type of vitamins, and something else really random, like these random assortment that you would never know.
Indirectly associated with the actual experience of having children.
So they would show, like, if a lady went in and they bought like a washcloth, these type of vitamins, maybe a certain type of shoes or something. I don't know, something really weird. If they bought these things, then it was like 90% likely she was going to have a baby. And so they would start sending the baby things to them before they had the child. But the problem was then is that they didn't want you to know that they're spying on you, right? Because it's kind of
that is definitely espionage.
So what they would do is they would send you some promotion codes. They say, like, here's for Pampers, here's a stroller. Oh, here's a saw, a hammer.
Completely unrelated.
Yeah, exactly.
So they can muddy. Yeah, they can muddy everything. Yeah, that's pretty neat.
But people are doing crazy things with machine learning. So that's what I sort of learned in my role as CTO of my company. We have to use machine learning a lot to try to learn people's patterns and behaviors in a way that we can help make their experience better. And I think, like you're saying, okay, out there, you guys have the devices that are capturing all this data. Now, what do we do with this? Because we don't want to just throw it away and waste it.
Yes. So it's very, very fascinating what you've shared there, because I look at some of the experiences I had with particularly it's a large beverage, like one company that has, not exactly a beverage company, but they have all these coffee outlets.
Sure, yeah.
And they have large kitchens. Mm-hmm. So they do have a logistics and a kind of fast food processing operation going on, as much as they have their final customers are within the coffee shops and the restaurants. Right. So they have there's a lot of operational inefficiencies that they were facing. Both within their large kitchens, their cooking areas, and also within the restaurants. And prior to deploying the technology, the discussion was, this technology will do this. You'll be able to know how long the fridges have been left open, because leaving the fridges open is what leads to the food going bad. The food is, yes, exactly. So we can almost predict where the problems are and how to use technology to solve them. But after some time, after the deployment, data is streaming in and everything, you start realizing what the problem goes beyond just the operation and the technology. It's really just a human problem. AI seeks to do a lot of automation, which is a good thing. And of course, can be a bad thing. The same way what the Industrial Revolution did, it made a lot of work redundant and unnecessary. But we really can't have that. What do you call it? Like can't demonize it, because that's, as much as it's seeking to do that, it's not seeking to completely replace the human element in what we do. So the problems that were there with this company I was talking about, they were operational, just operational challenges that a bit of automation would help solve. It would not necessarily be replacing, the kitchen workers, the restaurant workers, the logistics workers. It really seeks to enhance their works better. But I think problem I have with companies is that they scream all this advantages of adopting such automation solution, AI solutions, machine learning solutions, as we're going to save on costs. We're not going to need so many people. You're still going to need people to do work. You're still going to do all this. So I really I hope the messaging can shift from that replacement theory, that we're not building technology to get rid of people. We're building technology to enhance these experiences. And I should stop really looking at it from a point that, if AI can do this job, can do this accounting job, why do I need an accountant? That's really not the right way of looking at it, is that how can the technology make all these workers and all these experiences better?
Oh yeah, I think there's so many opportunities. And I think there's so many things that are happening that the high-level business owners and managers are not aware of, because they don't have the data. Like if you run a multi-chain type of thing, like you're mentioning, like a place has a fast food service. One example I can think of is that there's a big national grocery chain around. I won't say which one, but there's one that one time I bought some sausages from there, and I immediately took the sausages home and started cooking them. And you'd nearly die. Like they were so spoiled. And, you'd go into this place and you'd just smell this bad smell that would come from the place, right? And what I realized was that, and I think it was just like one of the branches, they shut off the fridges at nighttime. So they have the sausages and the meats there, and then they turn off the fridges at nighttime when the customers aren't there. But when the customers come, they turn the fridges on, because and I'm sure this happens at a lot of these places, I'm sure. And I don't know if the high management is the one telling them to do this or not, but I would assume like maybe just a guy in the shop is like, the electric bill's kind of high, let's shut off the fridge. And then they're poisoning everybody.
Yeah, by extension, yeah. So it's pretty unfortunate.
So if you had this data where like the boss could be like, hey, I can see all my fridges, I know their utilization, and I'm sure these companies, they don't want their customers getting food poisoning or all this. So if any of the local grocery chains are listening, don't turn off your fridges.
Yeah, please don't. I think to an extent, you can have that argument that you can switch off these fridges for some time, but not all the time. But you need data to know that, to really justify that whatever you're storing needs to be exposed to these specific conditions. Whatever you do, don't change these conditions. But please don't turn off your fridges.
Don't leave them off all night. It was a dangerous thing. And we've all experienced what happens when the fridges are turned off.
Yeah, it's not the best. Yeah. All right.
Okay, great. Well, it's been great having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Appreciate it, Felix, and look forward to talking to you again. And to all our listeners, remember, go out there and let's get that gold here in Nairobi. Let's make the great entrepreneurial environment that we all are looking for out there. The country has a lot to offer. We've got great guys like Felix out there that are building real companies and building hard assets and bringing manufacturing into the country. So great opportunity for everybody, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.